Okay, we're live. We're live, and welcome to those of you who are following us. We are connected at last using various devices and extensions and power sources and everything but the hamster in order to join Corte in Corsica. The bandwidth is limited, so we're going to try and keep the use of webcams down as much as possible. But Martin, from Poland, Martina has joined us. Martina, where are you today? You're at home. So you're in the UK? And I know Martina's got mic problems, but I know she's at home. Actually, we heard her then, just before she got up and left. So Martina's joining us as well, and we're capturing this through a virtually connecting session, joining the language conference of Ranakles 2017. But I'm very much aware that Simon is presenting to a room full of people very shortly.
I've just got over one hurdle, which is I could plug in the projector.
Okay. Now, bandwidth is really tricky.
Yeah.
So I think for our virtual connecting people, if you can switch off your webcams, that will help us capture as much as we can of Simon's presentation.
But we haven't.
Thank you. That's great.
I suppose we haven't reached the stage.
That's great.
Of communication that you can see on Star Trek. They seamlessly connect.
Yes.
From different galaxies. So.
Yes,
we're not
in another galaxy.
I'm just thinking because
oh no, don't do that.
Time. Tom.
I have your slides, Simon, within the V connecting, but I'm going to need your prompting to move through them, and I know there's an awful lot of them.
So what I will do, look, if I can get Tom. Teresa, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Right, I'm just going to pop out. If you could, can you?
I need a signal. That's all I need, a signal to say next slide.
The link somewhere.
Hello?
Hi, Martina. We can hear you. We're just struggling on bandwidth. So if you can turn your webcam off, that would help.
This is beautiful.
Tell us where you are, Martina, today.
What I want to do is invite Tom.
Well, it seems, Teresa, we're the only people who can actually...
Can I invite
exactly,
Tom?
Yes. I think if it's possible for Tom just to put a tweet, is Tom on Twitter or if he's using your Twitter account or something.
I'm going to
need a code to say advanced slide or move on.
Yeah, thumbs up to broadband internet.
Yeah, because everybody's got it, of course, and it's brilliant everywhere. Right.
Yes. You only find out once you really want it, when you need
when you use it in anger and realize that in fact that isn't true, and you only have to go to certain parts of America where you find that actually we say the advanced countries have all got it sorted. No, they haven't. There are whole tracts of America where they can't get good bandwidth and good internet connections.
Yeah. Well,
the land of the free.
I have to leave to teach a class in a couple of minutes. Well, actually 5 minutes, in fact. So I wish I could stay longer, but I can't. So I'm going to, I'm going to just follow the presentation in my heart. Perhaps I'll be in spirit with you.
Or watch it on YouTube afterwards.
Okay.
I'm just thinking. Now I don't know how the bloody projector works, but I shouldn't say bloody, should I?
So on my side,
No, we're going to have to do some bleeping, Simon, now.
it has to be a spiritual
tweeted-
connection on my side, unfortunately.
This is over 18s only watching this.
All right.
Tom's Gmail.
I'll catch up with you
Teresa.
some other time.
I've demailed his.
Okay, lovely to
Hello?
see you, Marcin. Bye. Sorry, just saying goodbye to Marcin. So you said Tom's on
Sorry.
Gmail.
No, I've just DM'd you his Gmail. His Gmail.
Right.
So
you've DM'd it through
Twitter. Yeah. So he should be waiting for an invite, but he did say to me something about him having a battery problem too. Could it not be? I mean, there's parameters going on here.
I'm trying to copy that, but it's not working. Right, let's grab it from here.
It's good.
Isn't life grand?
Well, we're on the edge of our seats. It's edge of the, what do they say? Seat of your pants. I can't remember.
Yes.
Wing it. We're winging it. That's what I said to Tom. We're winging it. However, I don't know how the projector works. How does the projector?
Okay.
I don't know.
You get familiar with that, and I'll see if I can invite. Yeah, there is an echo. Yeah, the more we mute our mics, the better. I think once the presentation starts, we're going to have to just be silent participants. Right, and what I'm not finding at the moment.
Hello.
Hi, I'm just trying to find this Twitter account, and I'm not getting anywhere. Right, let's come back.
Hi, Martina.
Hi, Simon. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you well, but I don't know how that projector works.
Yeah, we get an awful loop as well once we've got, because Martina's audio's coming back through, and
Mm-hmm.
Ouais, ça chauffe. Ça projette là. Non, juste là. Comme il est en face, ouais.
Et les gens, ils voient là.
On voit bien, ouais.
Okay.
Là, ça marche.
Je suis un peu paumé par rapport.
je ferai de mon mieux de changer les. Hi. Je ferai de mon mieux de changer les diapos quand tu me dis, hein. Ou même pas. Je pourrais partager le lien si tu veux pour ceux qui suivent. Voilà, je vais prendre le lien. Voilà.
You know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to pop out, and it's 6. C'est à 16h50. D'accord. Je reviens.
Ok. On attend. En attendant, on va causer un tout petit peu.
Okay, I've just got to find WWC.
Ok, allez, vas-y. Okay, there will be a short pause. What I'm going to do is just share the link for the chat. No, sorry, not for the chat, but for the slides. Because as you've probably heard already, we're not getting great bandwidth, so it's not definite that I'm going to hear Just stop that screen sharing for a moment, that I'm actually going to hear Simon's instructions to move the slides on. So if you have the link and you're watching and you're joined, that you can perhaps follow more easily by using the link to move through the slides. And in effect, really what we're doing is capturing the presentation once Simon starts, and he's just popped off for a few minutes. I'm not sure if he's presenting in French or in English. All will be revealed. This is like opening Pandora's box, because I've worked with Simon for 6 years now, and I know that's how he works. And yeah, he likes to wing things. I'm not a great winger, but I always come along for the ride. Right, so we're going to put thanks to virtually connecting.
Are you still there? You sound like
I am. I'm absolutely
Wow.
there. I'm doing a little commentary for anyone who's listening, so they can try and make sense of what we're up to.
Computer.
Right, I'll put this in present mode. Oh, actually, no, I shouldn't have done that just yet. What I should have done is come back in the Hangout first. Okay. Right. So I'm going to share your slides. I'm just going to put them into present mode. And I have sent a message to Tom through Gmail. I can open Gmail on my phone, so maybe. So in terms of back channels, at the moment, we have Twitter as a back channel. We now have Gmail as a back channel.
Okay.
There are more back channels than front channels, whatever they might be.
Yeah. Well,
Do you have a... Let's see what we've got going on here. I've got some Facebook messages coming in. Oh, my word. Right. Computer-mediated communication. You haven't lived unless you've delved into the deepest joys of CMC. With several devices, it would be easier today if I actually had more than one screen on my computer, but I haven't, and such is life. And live with it. Okay, I'm hoping we haven't lost Simon. Martina, if you're hearing everything twice, then that will be coming out of your speaker and going back through your mic. So if your mic is muted, that should stop that loop. But I can see your mic. I think your mic is muted. Yeah. So why would you be hearing everything twice if you're... Have you got any other gadgets or things open? I'm a little worried that we've lost Simon at this point, but I'm hoping that's because he's busy setting up the room. Yay! Okay, we have Simon back. Okay, how's your adrenaline level, Simon?
However, what I think is, I don't know, probably, yeah, I keep dropping out, and I guess yourself dropping out. I'm dropping out.
Yeah. Oops. I'm not sure how much of this we're going to capture, or whether we're going to wait until the end and try and capture Simon for a conversation when the people have gone. I did kind of think it might be better if we did one thing at a time. Hi, Martina.
Hi there. What I've just done is I put my mobile phone into the other room. So there might have been a problem with the phone, but I'm not too sure about this. Let's see whether this was the problem. Though I couldn't see whether Google Hangout was on my phone. I don't think it was, but still there might have been a problem. So maybe it's getting better now. I just hope.
It's certainly, you sound very clear. Try and capture Simon for a conversation.
But I still have the loop, Teresa. I still hear it.
I can still hear, and I just heard, I just heard that come through. I wonder if it's back through the room. No, it would be the room. It'll be within Simon's room, because of course they've got an audio system, and then it's going back into his phone. The audio will be going back into his phone and back in the room to us. Yeah. Multiple mics, multiple speaker setups.
That's wonderful. By the end of today's session, I'll have a really, number of voices in my head.
It's serious immersion, isn't it? It's going round and round.
Absolutely.
If they had a lecture capture, then they could just do the lecture.
The problem, obviously, Teresa, I mean, seriously now, the problem obviously is if you were to record this, there's no way. I mean, you can put it on YouTube, but it's not going to be a nice experience.
No, the quality is not good.
Definitely not.
And of course, it's live now, so it's out.
I know
there.
it is. I know it is.
Now.
Yes.
So this if nothing else, it's a lesson on why you need to plan these things.
Yeah.
And there's some great performance art, actually. There's a friend of mine who is an academic in drama, who's using these sorts of interruptions and distorted versions of reality that come once you use computer-mediated communication within a drama setting, and researching them and looking at the effects it has on participants and things in drama. It's fascinating. The various strange noises and loops, and trying to track down where the audio is coming from and what it's doing. Yes, certainly ripe for investigation. It does look, I mean, Simon has left the chat, so it kind of looks to me as though, I mean, he's obviously got an issue trying to get back into the Hangout at the same time anyway, so whether we'll continue regardless or not, I don't know. I don't want to let him down, so we'll stay in place.
Yeah.
And see what happens.
Fine.
And I think, and it's lovely to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while. So if nothing else, we get to have a chat, and we saw Martin briefly.
Yeah. Do you want to hear a nice short story about connections?
Oh, please.
I've been interviewed by Helen Crump for her PhD on self-OER.
Oh, yes.
And I was actually, in the interview, I was referring to the blog post that I wrote for the Alt website. Yeah. And she was asking me how that came about. And I was telling her our Eurocall story, and you contacted me afterwards. And even though I don't think I'm a blogger, well, I don't feel like a blogger anyway. And it was my first blog anyway. And but still I did it. And we were talking about that one. So that was a nice story about connections there.
That's lovely. No, that's great. Yeah, it's amazing just how deep and how far these connections go. It's it's like the 6 degrees of separation thing, that you know someone who knows someone who knows someone, and before you know it, you've connected with literally hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah,
I think that's certainly been the lesson that I've learned through Clavier as well. Simon asked me to reflect on the Clavier project that he's presenting today.
Yeah,
and I wrote a couple of blog posts on that. Yeah, I mean, the reach of that is just so vast, but it's just serendipitous, and it's been, each of us, I think, involved in it has had a slightly different story, and it's led us into different things. So it just shows the power of connections.
Yes. It does.
You know, the importance of that network. And often I think it just gets forgotten that, you know, people, organizations particularly, group people in small sort of silos and assume that they don't talk to each other. And the human reality is that we are an ecosystem. We're actually a living, breathing, connecting rhizome.
We are. We definitely are, and it's amazing how where these connections can actually go to. Because the only reason I'm here is because I saw a GIF this morning that actually Simon had sent to you and some other people.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
And it was a really nice illustration of connections and what connections can do. And then I gave my 2 cents. You know, sort of not really. I can't really interpret when I talk Deleuze, but really giving my 2 cents from a Deleuzian point of view, and that actually led one thing to another. And I think that is why Simon in the end asked me, you know, whether I want to join this impromptu session. So here we go, and that was on my way to work. So when I went to work, I had no idea that we would actually be ending up here having a little chat about Clavier, and I didn't know anything about this exciting project. So I learned a lot today.
Oh, that's lovely. That's great. And that, yes, I suppose because we met at Eurocall and despite having sort of been connecting already for quite a long time through Twitter, you make a closer connection, and then you want to learn more and you want to see what people do. And that's, I mean, I didn't imagine today that I would be doing this either. This wasn't on my list of jobs to do, which is still outstanding. This was okay, let's give that a go and see what happens. But yes, and if nothing else, as you say, it gives us now an opportunity to just reflect on that and reflect on how our lives have been changed by this sort of thing. And I mean, for me, it's been very much about the fact that these connections are made in the open. And Simon is very, very good at the GIF creation and the creative writing and things like that. And you know, we met purely sort of by chance, commenting on a blog post 6 years ago.
Yeah.
But since then, you know, the virtual exchange, Clavier, has been very much part of my life, and it's been sort of 300 to 500 students a year. It's been part of their lives, and you know, they never cease to amaze me with how they embrace these opportunities. So we had to move into a Google Plus community this year because our Languages at Warwick portal has disappeared. It's no longer supported financially.
Okay.
So we've gone out into the wild and, you know, put this portal together. And I thought, you know, are students really going to want to do this? Well, there's over 300 of them in there, and they're connecting and they're sharing stuff that probably they wouldn't have shared through a Moodle forum in a course. They're making really authentic sort of connections with each other. So they blow me away that, you know, you think, well, they then make it their own. We suggest something, we put a bit of infrastructure in place, and they populate it and get on with it. And
it's very much unpredictable, and that's what I like about it. It's so, yes. And it's not so much, from my perspective, it's not so much about human agency, although that's involved as well, but about the, as you said, the power of connections, and where this sort of this coming together of human and non-human factors lead to. Like, yes. You know, we are having this conversation now, mediated, you know, through Google Hangout. We have no idea who might be watching this. We have no idea who might actually get interested in Clavier, or might get interested in some other work that you might do, or that I do. And where that again might lead us, and that's the really interesting thing. And I think this is very much in Simon's presentation here as well, judging by his title. And yes. he will probably use some of the tweets that I've seen, you know, buzzing back and forth, you know, with the hashtag juggling stories. And that was quite a nice initiative as well.
Yes, yes, I think that's absolutely true. But I think the worrying thing, and the thing that perhaps makes it threatening for those who manage educational situations or formal education, is that is the lack of control. That you know, because these things work so well and so serendipitously, they have no control over the outcomes. So we can't say when we start out where we're going to end up. All we can say is these are opportunities, and we will get to know each other. And you know, I have to admit, I go into the the Google Plus community, and I'm particularly on the lookout for either people just saying things that are not suitable to be said within the environment, or being unpleasant to each other. But you know, this is very much down to the ethos you create within the classroom, the things you expect of your students. And we've never had anybody, you know, malicious or unpleasant. And I hope that, you know, for a long, long time. But the press that social media often attracts focuses on the negatives, the cyberbullying and this sort of weaves a narrative of fear. Yes. You know, it does mean that people then feel justified. People such as Trump, for example, feel justified in pushing against the net neutrality rules and closing down the internet and making it only available to, you know, people who pay, because there's a sort of discourse around control that they feel justifies that. And for some who perhaps aren't paying attention particularly, they feel, well, maybe it's best if, you know, these big companies decide what's good for us. And I think it's really important that we shout up for the use of the open internet for ordinary people, and, you know, the cost-free advantages that we have now, thanks to virtually connecting, of having these conversations, and showing that actually populating the web with real, good, honest people who want to support education and not commodify it are valuable to the ecosystem. They're to do with the sort of infrastructure and support of an infrastructure that was actually created by academics for these sort of conversations, these academic conversations that have value. So yes, that's my soapbox. I've been watching the you know, Americans tweeting about Thanksgiving and thinking, well, I hope you're giving thanks for, you know, a neutral net and an open internet. And, you know, get up there and stand up for it, because we need to keep it that way.
Definitely.
I'm just going to check my phone and see whether we're having any Twitter interaction. We should have called this hangout Martina and Teresa sit down and have a catch up.
But then again, going back to control, we could only have done that if we'd known before, could we? But we didn't.
This is true. It was just serendipitous. I did add the join link to the document, so if anybody comes across it, they can pop in and join us. If we haven't got Simon with us, we can extend that conversation.
Yes, and I tweeted. You might have seen that I
did. Thank you very much. Yes.
Yeah, very welcome with that. I mean, that's the least you can do if something is set up in such an well, not such a hurry. It just is the way it is. Full stop. Exactly. I can see that Renaklis has tweeted a picture of Simon in front of his slides, so he's focusing now on the room, and I think that's a really good idea, because I know just how exhausting it is to prepare something for a conference, and then to try and focus on broadcasting it as well is, especially with the problems he's had with computers, connections, Wi-Fi, and power. It's, you know, focusing on one thing at a time is not a bad idea. Christian and I are going to do 3 virtually connecting sessions next week at the OER Festival in Berlin, Germany.
Oh, right. Oh, I should be looking out for that.
So that's going to be very interesting as well. Yes, having said that, these sessions will be in German only this time, because we did English sessions in Hamburg, and we felt it might be a good idea to try something in German, because there is, for some people, there's always this, language barrier. I mean, for other people who are fortunate enough, like you and me, to be able to move between different networks and communities, that's language is not that much of a problem. But for a lot of people within the German OER community, we felt that language was actually a problem. So we are giving it a try with German only.
Well, interestingly, yes, we had at Eurocall, as you know, I'm involved in the computer-mediated communication special interest group, and one of the things that came out of our discussions was that the show and tell sessions that I've been running for the last year or so, which have been mediated in English, and Hort said, can we have show and tell sessions that are language specific, and that's our next step, really, to set that up so that the language, so that different language communities can access these. Because for many of us, I would feel the same. I mean, my French is fluent, but I would feel quite nervous about presenting in French to an academic audience. Far more nervous than Simon is. He's much braver than I am.
But he lives in France, doesn't he?
He lives in France, yes, and his wife is French, but he didn't study a French degree, so he's got a different sort of background in his language acquisition to mine, and he's fearless, which is wonderful. That's a good position to be in. Anne-Catherine Wattola, is that her name?
Wattola, yes. Anne-Catherine
yes.
Wattola, yeah.
She has joined the OpenEd SIG.
Oh, wonderful. That's good.
Yes, and she's also getting more involved with alt in general. So she's now also one of our blog editors now for the AltC blog.
Wonderful.
And when we had our last online meeting, she mentioned that she would be willing to sort of see if she could help draw some messages from Germany into our conversations around open. Because I think, the quality of those conversations in Germany is in much greater depth and reaches different spaces when it comes to thinking about privacy and managing online presence and things. I think there's a lot we can learn from.
That might be, but there are some discussions that basically, where people get very excited about things that the UK talked about, 5 years ago or 10 years ago.
That's interesting.
So, and this is actually what we discovered when we were comparing OER discussions in Germany and in the UK. And I think who was there that I talked to about? Can't get the name at the moment, but.
Christian, is it Christian Friedrich?
Yes, Christian Friedrich.
Yes.
Well, yes, Christian and I are going to do these sessions next week. So we are in very close contact. We are in very close contact. So is Markus Daimann. You might have come across his name as well. So he's in there as well. But I was thinking of a lady who lives in the UK and who sort of, I think, has now a pretty good understanding and actually blogged about the differences between German OER discussions and discussions in the UK. And I'm just trying to remember. Blimey, that's always when we've got so many, and that's one of the things.
Keeping track of your own network
Gabi Wittels. That's her name, Gabi Wittels. And I know Gabi very well. I always thought she was German, actually, but she isn't.
No, she's a linguist.
Gabi, and she actually she had a very good blog post at the OER 17 in London about comparing German OER discussion and the UK one. And
I must check that out.
Basically, yes, it's still still available on the OER 17 website.
17 website.
All the different blog posts. If you scroll down the list, you'll come across her blog post, and that's really interesting.
I will do that. Martina, because Gabby I know from some years back now, but she also has joined the Alt-C sort of active members.
Yeah.
In terms of, I think she's now an Alt-C blog editor as well. So yes, that's great. I shall follow that up and,
Yes,
and see it. And of course, the week after next, I think it is now. Yes, week 10. No, it's the following. It's 2 weeks. 2 weeks hence, in December, sort of the middle of December, 13th, 14th of December. There is the Alt-C Winter Conference, which is an entirely online conference, and Open Ed SIG is running 3 events there. One of which is last year with as a sort of Christmas party to get people together, and Therese Bird has suggested this year that we have a kind of fireside chat hangout.
Hey, nice.
So I'm really looking forward to that, and everybody obviously is invited. And it's sort of bring your own marshmallows and tell us your stories of Open, and I think that'll be a really nice opportunity to sort of think about as we come to the end of Year of Open this year, but also to prepare
very busy year.
very yeah, and very exciting actually. I think things have moved on a lot. The connections have got stronger.
Yes, they have.
And that's great to see.
So when's your fireplace chat then?
Fireside chat. Let me just check my diary, because it had to go in as a proposal to Alt-C. So I've yet to hear back from them as to when it will be scheduled, but the plan is that it would be scheduled as the sort of end of the Alt Winter Conference, so it would be the 14th of December. Probably sort of 4 to 5 o'clock-ish, something like that.
Wonderful. My holiday starts on the 14th.
Oh, wonderful! Well, that's great.
I'll be at home. I'll be at home. So that would actually be an opportunity for me to join, maybe.
Oh, excellent! Oh, well, I hope you can, and we can just get together as an open community, or as advocates for Open, to share our stories and tales, because there are all sorts of things we can learn from each other, and we often don't get the opportunity to share that much.
Sure.
Which is. Which is why this is such a good opportunity. This is Renacle's conversation has become something very different. The actual location for this conference in Corte in Corsica, so it's northern Corsica, is right in the mountains. And we went as a family to Corsica in the summer. We went to Bastia Airport, which is where Simon will have flown into, and we got the hire car, as you do, and started to explore Corsican roads, and realized that an awful lot of Corsican roads are vertical on the edges of mountains. So despite my plans to get to Corte, we didn't drive to Corte, because we realized it would probably take us the best part of 3 hours in the car, and the temperatures were in the 40s at the time. So we chose to sit by the pool. So this is my second failed attempt to get to Corte, both physically and virtually. But I hope Simon's enjoying it, and perhaps once his session's over today, he'll be able to enjoy it a bit more too. The stress levels will drop and the blood pressure will return to normal.
Yeah.
Let's see if Renacles is still tweeting his presentation, because they were.
Yes, but I just checked and I didn't see anything new. So I'm just looking at his presentation now to see. Oh, right. So he's using Mercer in his research. That's interesting.
He's taken a
complexity
perspective, and that's come from the nexus analysis perspective, which actually was shared by the Finnish teachers who've been part of the Clavier network at Eurocall. So yes, so yet another connection there with Clavier and with the Clavier experience. Really, the issue with Clavier is because it is large scale, and despite the fact that we do have loads of data, because obviously electronically we've been in lots of places, our stories are very varied. And, you know, we go off in our different directions and do the things that are relevant to us according to where our learning has taken us. So analysing it all is a real headache, and I think he has done a great job to actually sort of find a way in to pull those stories together, because as we looked at our different stories was, you know, how would you define what Clavier is? Because actually we would probably all define it slightly differently. It started as a virtual exchange between two classrooms, essentially, became a large-scale student and staff connected network, and it's led each of us to slightly different places. So I would have loved to actually hear what the conclusions were, but maybe we'll get that at the end. But we'll get a minute later to catch up and tell us what he spoke about. Yes, looking through, there's a lot of very varied references here.
Yeah, indeed.
It reflects the complexity of the network.
Indeed. Yeah.
Different perspectives, different stakeholders.
I can see quite a bit of overlap with my doctoral research, though I come to it from a different perspective using Deleuze and Guattari.
Oh, that's interesting. So we've got these, yes, very varied. And he put together a document. Well, in fact, it's actually been a document that we've shared for quite some time throughout this sort of Clavier journey. One Google Doc that was put together to make for us to sort of populate with matters arising, if you like, as we went through the Clavier document. So conferences we presented at, papers we'd given, and links to all of those. And Simon returned to it before, you know, in preparation for Ranacles, and has turned it into the book of Clavier, if you like. So presumably he's going to share that document. In fact, I'll pop the link in here, but it's sort of, it captures the history and the very different experiences that we've had from physical connections to virtual connections, and from work opportunities and all the things that have arisen for the various participants. And the creativity of it as well, because the students have had a lot of agency in these connections. They have shared things about themselves that have that authenticity that really helps the connections to grow and thrive. See if I can pull that up. We've got it here somewhere.
Will be interesting, yeah.
So, Clavier history. One of those documents that, you know, when you start it, you think, oh, well, this will be useful, but, you know, whether we'll have the motivation to keep coming back to it, you know, you don't know. And then, in fact, annually we have returned to it and updated it. Right, let's return to the handout in the chat. There it
is that you've collected quite a lot of data, or Simon has collected quite a lot of data, and from basically 2010 onwards. So that's quite a long period of time as well.
It is a long period of time, and yes, and of course the sites that we use for these connections are still open sites, because the connections have happened in open Facebook groups, or in, as you say, in Google Plus at the moment, but the Facebook group is still there and live. The various, we took a hashtag approach, so when people had interests in sport or whatever, we made a Clav ski hashtag, or a Warwick football hashtag. And then we aggregated the content, so there are endless stories of the connections that they've made. You know, Simon I know from his recent blog post, but also one of my big concerns has always been around the nature of the ownership of the data, because obviously we're tracing what arises out of the connections within the project because we needed to in order to research and tell people about virtual exchange and what it can bring. So when people start the project, they had to agree to us looking anonymously at that data so that when they shared stuff, it was okay for us then to report back on the sort of connections that had arisen. But because they have total agency over what they produced en route, equally well they can withdraw it if they want to. Nobody actually has, but they can. To me, that feels like a fairer way of capturing just what it is to be part of that sort of virtual world that tracks and traces everything you do and say, because we're up front. And at least we're making sure that people know that what they're doing and how they do it is entirely up to them. So it involves them in the sort of discussions and debates around permissions, around their online identity and what they choose to reveal about themselves. We actively encourage them to create an online identity that is a work online identity, if you like. It's a professional presence. So the students think about the sorts of things that it is relevant for them to share and the sorts of things that they should perhaps think twice about before sharing. And I mean, they're all over 18, so that's another big advantage actually of the work that we do. So it's kind of a more grown-up scenario, whereas if in my earlier life as a school teacher, I would have found that a lot more difficult to progress. But that's looking good. And there have been a few tweets actually. I see Shona White has been tweeting about Ranakles, and that's great to see Shona. I've done some work with her before around open practice, and yes, there's still a little bit coming in. I've got the slides shared.
With are there different hashtags? Because I'm looking at the Ranakles 2017 hashtag, and the last action there was 19 minutes ago. So could it be that there is another one, Ranakles 17 or something?
I've picked up the things I've just picked up are just on Ranakles without the 2017.
Oh.
Just hashtag Ranakles.
Yeah, I mean, so it's the same
as ever. People are making their own decisions.
Yes, it's always the same thing. If you, oh gosh, this is why it's so important to have one official hashtag.
Absolutely, yes, because things get lost.
It's difficult to actually follow all these conversations when there are different hashtags.
Yes, you've given me an idea though. I'm going to try Ranakles 17 and see whether anything comes up on that as well.
because I'm pretty sure that there is. Because I thought the official one was Ranakles 2017. I thought
it is.
It is, isn't it? Yeah.
That's
then,
right.
Course, that's the one thing, and the other thing is what people actually do, because sometimes they might think it's a bit too long or whatever.
Yes. And then you get the usual social media typos as well, so things can turn up all over the place.
Yeah, so I'm checking the hashtag Ranakles. Ranakles 17 doesn't get me anything.
No, I only found two.
It must be Ranakles 2017.
It is, yeah.
I just try the word and see what the word gets me. Check. No, there again, the last action was what, 22 minutes ago? That can't be, can it?
I think so. I think they were, yeah.
So not a lot of activity there.
Not a lot, no. I think that's what Shona's pushing out. So I'm going to send her a message to say that's the official one. Renacles 2017.
Yeah, that's the one. Right. Now, the one thing is that slightly worries me is that I've got time till 22:06, and then I'll be gone because because Simon had said earlier that we should be having this conversation between 4:20 and 5:30.
That's right. I think 5:30 French time.
Yeah,
so
French.
In just 4 minutes time is when his presentation will be due to end.
Well, he will probably run over.
He will probably run over because he certainly had to run a little later than hoped, I think. Getting set up, it sounded as though there were all sorts of problems actually getting the presentation set up in the room as well. So
it's a pretty long presentation by the looks of it.
There's an awful lot of slides there.
Blimey, I can see 73 slides.
I think, I was recently in a presentation by Jesse Stommel. Have you come across Jesse and the hybrid pedagogy gang?
Yes, I have.
Who are wonderful, and he came to Warwick, which I was absolutely delighted about. And I was going down with a bug, and I wasn't terribly well, but I managed to make it to this one presentation with Jesse, and he was fabulous, as I expected. But he admitted that when he'd first put the deck together, there was something like 50 odd slides, and somebody had persuaded him to cut it down a little, but he still had a deck of over 20 slides. But with this great sort of mastery, he was able to have a conversation with us and jump into the relevant slides for the area that we were talking about, which was wonderful. But I don't work that way. My slides are maybe 5 or 6 slides, so I've got 3 minutes per slide, and it's timed, and and then lots and lots of resources that get tweeted out and things at the same time. But we all find our own routes through these things, don't we? But yes, Simon is of the school of large slide decks.
Yes, I can see that. I mean, his references alone are 3 slides. And I think it's tiny font. It's something like 8 point or something.
Yes.
Amazing.
Yes.
Absolutely amazing.
Dense.
It is. Yes, definitely. They're very dense. But very nice to see, because it gives, again, we were talking about connections. We were talking about where they might lead. So for other people to look at this, it's a wonderful resource. And
yes.
They can explore whatever they find useful or interesting, or that sort of affects them in a Deleuzean sense, and it makes them sort of think something, feel something, and then they go on their own explorations, and that's wonderful.
Exactly, and investigate it. Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, and it's very important, and because they're shared openly, it's again another possibility for people to, as you say, pick up ideas and research them and look into them, and as long as they look at things critically, put things out there, but look at them critically, think about them. Don't take them as gospel. Double check those references.
I don't think there's much danger here, because this presentation is so comprehensive, and the ideas that I can see there come from very different perspectives. So it's not.
Yes, I think one of the first things that we both found once we got into into virtual exchange and online interaction was that you needed a transdisciplinary approach. You couldn't really understand what was going on by looking through just one lens.
Yeah,
you really needed multiple perspectives, and Simon, by sort of academic background, is a historian.
Is he now? Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know that.
So he comes with a different perspective to my own. So yes, I think it's interesting to have that, multidisciplinary input. It's certainly, we're seeing a lot of new techniques arising through language learning and interaction and online intercultural exchange. The new research methods, the eye tracking, and the various things now that we can do with the online tools to try and investigate what's really going on. So looking at things from a psychological perspective, from a sociological perspective. But yeah, to really understand it, you need more than one discipline. You need people contributing from different disciplines.
Definitely.
So that's makes it a big job.
Absolutely. Right. Okay.
I guess we're going to have to kind of wind things up in terms of this recording.
Yes.
I would love to think that Simon would rejoin us any moment, but I don't know how possible that is. If he's got caught up in Q&A. I wonder if I can tweet him. I wonder if he's actually got his phone with him still. Or maybe his phone has died now.
I'm not sure whether that's a really good idea, because here I suspect that he might be very much under pressure as it is.
Yes.
So
yeah.
And that probably give him a bit more pressure. So
Yeah.
no, what I think what we're going to do, as I said, we still have 7 minutes, and I'll give him the 7 minutes, and then by 22:06 I will actually lock off, if that's okay.
Okay, well, that's, of course, that is. It's entirely. Yes, we're already beyond our allotted time, so it's great to have you here, and great to have these opportunities for discussion. And yes, I shall do the same. You and I both will skip off back into our lives.
Exactly, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful that you were available as a virtual body, at such short notice, because it's always easier to be, an online participant, because I just need the link and I need to be there. But setting it all up, that cost you a lot of nerves today, didn't it?
It did a little bit, but it was fortunate, because I teach on a Tuesday night. I had to do some presentations on Wednesday. But I had planned to be at home today anyway, with marking and things. So yes, it just fell at a useful time.
That's good.
And I thought, well, yes, I can pitch in there.
Yeah, sometimes it works, and sometimes it doesn't.
That's right. Again, it's down to serendipity, isn't it? It comes down to just the way things go sometimes.
There is certainly one way looking at it. We were talking about different perspectives. I don't think Deleuze and Guattari are so happy with serendipity. I think they're more about the idea of the rhizome reaching out and connecting, and that is very much down to time, space, and a lot of other factors that come in here.
Yes, you're right, actually.
And then it might actually get the connections get severed at some point, and then they might reconnect. Because talking about Simon, for instance, I had seen him popping up in my Twitter timeline from time to time, and I'd seen that he has had connections with Mahabali, obviously, and I think he came in at the OER 17 conference as a kind of online participant or something, but we weren't really that much in touch. And then all of a sudden, now I'm here, because it just fit. It fit.
Right.
And then it might be that and also in between, I almost forgot, in between we had a nice connection at the OER camp in Hamburg this year, because he was the virtual buddy for a session with Christian and myself, and so we had a connection there. That was really nice as well. I think it was no, it wasn't. I think it was. Hang on, it wasn't the OER camp in Hamburg. No, that was somebody else. It was the Eurocall. He was at the Eurocall.
Yeah, he was the virtual buddy for us. That's right, for Eurocall.
For that one.
Yes, he was.
For that one. But before that, we didn't really have that much contact. And when I mentioned Deleuze and Guattari, he was going like, "Oh yeah, don't get me started." That was quite nice. But now, when I looked at his presentation, of course, Deleuze and Guattari come up in there as well.
Yes. I see that there are sort of rapprochement. There are sort of moments where you come across people within the network and realize that something they say or they do is just connects. It just sets off the sort of now that's what I'm interested in.
The interesting thing for me, Teresa, is that these connections don't necessarily lead to production of something like we're doing now. We're producing something together here. Today, we have been producing something together. We have achieved something together as a sort of assemblage or agencement, as Deleuze and Guattari would call it. And that's the really interesting thing.
Yes, you're right. And yes, it's a funny old world.
It is.
A funny old world. I always remember from my teaching days that some of the most useful sort of moments that you have are those moments where you sit down next to somebody in the staff room you've perhaps never spoken to before or not spoken to at any length before, and you start having a conversation about something totally random, and you uncover all sorts of interesting things about each other that then lead to a different relationship. It's like the water cooler. The Americans always talk about the water cooler moments. Those sort of moments that just facilitate and maybe open your eyes to another way of looking at something. And it's interesting that those can happen mediated by computers as well. It doesn't have to be a physical encounter. And I think for a long time people have thought of virtual as being the opposite of real. And for me, virtual is very much real. There are many things that you learn.
No, it's
through
actually
connections.
For Deleuze and Guattari, the virtual and the actual are actually on the same level, as far as I understand this. And the actual is not more important than the virtual. It's really about possibilities. And by the way, talking about possibilities, I've just had a look at Twitter direct messaging, and Simon said that the presentation ended on a beautiful note, and I just asked him whether he will join us for a virtual goodbye now.
Ah, great. Okay.
And he's writing something there. I don't know what he's going to write, but if you open your direct messaging, you will see.
Yes, let's have a little look. Let me move that out. Right.
And that obviously unsettles, by the way, the idea of the actual and the virtual. That really is something that unsettles most people, because for most people, the idea is it's either black or white, it's there or it's not there. For Deleuze and Guattari, the question is not whether something is there or not there. The question is what might it become, in the sense of ever-changing fluid becomings. That's what they're interested in.
Right.
So there's never a sort of static state or status that you have.
Yeah, and there's also almost there's a human discourse that says we want stability, we want things fixed, we want to know the framework, we want, and
understandable, because we live in unstable times. We live in complex times, and we live in times of great uncertainty. And some of the dangers you mentioned earlier on about the internet, danger to the open internet, that sort of thing, for instance. And another, there's a lot of hate speech. There's a lot of fear going on at the moment in different countries. And one answer could be, yes, tell me whether it's black or white. But I don't think that is the way to go, or the way we should go. But I'm with Simon in the idea that we should embrace more complexity and find ways to deal with it and not go back to binaries.
No, I totally agree with that. It looks to me from Simon's DM as though he's not planning on coming back in. Yeah, he's not planning on coming back into the room. He's just conversing with us through Twitter DM at the moment. So we'll perhaps finish this hangout and take it off air. But I'm very grateful. I feel as though I've had an opportunity for some mentoring, and I'm very grateful for that. So thank you very much, and thanks for your time, and thank you very much for coming to the hangout.
Well, it's been my pleasure. It didn't really go at all as planned, but at least we had some time to catch up on a few things. And I made you aware of the OER Festival next week, so maybe we can reconnect there if there's a chance.
I certainly will.
Might be interesting.
I certainly will be looking out for that. Yes, absolutely.
By the way, do you speak German by any chance?
Unfortunately, not.
Okay, no problem.
But I have colleagues who do. My German is very, very limited. So, but
like,
you know, if I see you tweet in German about the conference, I will RT it, because I can totally trust the source.
Wonderful. And I'll make sure to to write some tweets in English as well, because I'm very much interested in actually connecting networks. And in particular the OER network, the OER, well, some people call it community, whatever you call it, network community. So the OER community in Germany and the OER community in the UK, maybe the old community, maybe the Learning Technologies Higher Education chat community. So Chris Ineraski's
yes,
well,
yeah,
not Chris's people, but the people.
Well, yeah, I've been very involved in that. No, that's true.
Exactly. So I'm very much interested in reaching out there and see where these connections might lead. Okay?
Excellent. Well, that's a great note. And the message here that I'm seeing from Simon is that Tim Lewis has been in touch with him. Well, Tim Lewis is very much part of the Uni collaboration.
I know.
So that's nice to see.
I actually know him personally because he was at the Open University. And yes. So I know him.
Excellent. Well, he and Rob O'Dowd were the co-editors of the book that I wrote, the Clavier chapter 4, and did the research in open badges for as well. So yes, I've worked with them.
Wonderful.
So good.
So thanks a lot, Teresa. That was a really nice chat, and have a good time, and connecting again soon. Okay.
Yes, we'll stay connected. Thanks ever so much, Martina.
Thank you.
Take care.
And you. Bye-bye.
Bye.